hope it never has to get used for the ultimate purpose it was designed for. But boy, if it ever needs to come to that, this is the tool.
Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard-On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my use and abuse knives and gear.
Good people of the Hard-On Gear channel, I have the awesomest thing I've ever unboxed on this channel. Holy crap. This is the Winkler RnD Sayoc Hawk. Just exactly the one that you're thinking of if you clicked on this video and you watched the Terminalist series, or like me, you've been listening to the books or reading the books for years. Yeah, I'm like actually freaking out a little bit. The guys who seen me handle this here a second ago, and the fellow who was lending this to me, because this is not mine, because this is a super friggin' expensive awesome hawk. He's seen visibly, I'm pretty sure, like the genuine blissful excitement on my face as I got my hands on what is probably the most sought after tomahawk of 2022, 2023. So this is as always, correct me if I'm wrong, any of this stuff, guys, traditional Filipino kind of design. Sayoc Kali is one of the more practical, we'll say like real world applicable versions of Kali, Filipino martial arts type stuff. This hawk was very much designed to work with that type of movement. That has a nice forward handle, nice forward curvature. Like the kanji from CRKT, like someone mentioned in that last video I did on the SOG Fast Hawk, that's got about the same kind of build, I believe, as that. The forward kind of curvature that allows the circular movements of Filipino martial arts to kind of, well, complement this super unique but super practical design. That front spike is exactly what you'd think it is, and this is not exactly like a typical woodsman's axe. This is meant to be a tool of war. It's very much meant to be a impact weapon on a person's body or skull, depending on the situation. I don't know that this is something a lot of folks on this channel are going to be into, but I know I do have a lot of ex-military or current military guys who are into this kind of stuff. Definitely might be an option if you're looking for some super sick thing to carry overseas, because I know a lot of super high level dudes like to carry this kind of stuff. Super small, super compact, super tactically proficient sheath. I'm having a hard time doing words. So the sheath is made so that, as you'll see in this clip that I'm about to show you, you can essentially get this out and into action very, very quickly by pulling that bungee and then pushing the axe forward through the sheath opening. You get it out in a hammer grip and go right to work with it, as you'll hear him kind of describe or read, depending on if you're an audio person or a normal old school reading a book person. But if you're listening or reading to those books, they'll describe a lot of the different ways this is used. Pretty friggin' lethal and pretty effective. And I'm not too sure that everything in the books is something that he exactly has done or heard somebody do in combat, but most of the stuff and the details he puts in those books, it's fiction, but boy, there's a lot of stuff going on there that you got to imagine is not coming from his imagination. Definitely a tool of war. However, there are some practical applications in the woods to this. I was watching some different videos a year or so ago of guys doing some general just like branch cleaving and stuff like that. That front spike, sharpened on the inside, actually works really well to catch branches. Now, I'm not going to show you with this one because it's not my axe, and this is a $700-ish US axe. To get it over to Canada, by the time you pay for the difference in the tax or the dollar value right now, plus the customs fees and all that, I think he paid somewhere between $1,000 and $1,100. But super big thanks to yeah, you know who you are, buddy, who lent me this. Also the guy who lent me those two half-breed blades. One of the best things about being here in the military for the last few hours that I am, by the way. Today I signed my little piece of paper that makes me a normal civilian person again. One of the best little side benefits of me being here has been the access to all the cool knives and tomahawks and sweet things that my buddies have lent me. So yeah, million thanks to you guys. Super friggin' awesome. There is no words to describe how pumped I am to have this on my desk right now. Whatever Christmas is as a small child, if you ever have a really good one of those, whatever gives you that nice euphoric dopamine rush of just like, this is doing it for me. The level of craftsmanship and design that went into the handle and the ergos to make this feel like very much an extension of your hand and of your arm. The weight is very much towards the head. I'm sure this thing would throw probably pretty damn decent. It doesn't seem like it's, yeah, unbalanced to the point where it would kind of flop around in the air. I think you're going to get some nice spins on that sucker. And for the record, I would never recommend throwing a Winkler hawk. As for the specs, I'm going to put them up on the screen for you right now because I don't want to blotch anything. I'm going to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. But this is essentially about the same size as most of your small tomahawk kind of compact axes. Here we have the SOG Fast Hawk, which I did a video on here not that long ago. Thanks again to the fellow lending me this. Nice little size comparison there for you. About the same length. kind of maybe a little bit bigger of a head profile overall, and of course the sheath on the Sayoc Hawk, and this is like a $60 axe here, so definitely not the same price range. Somewhere between $40 and $70 depending on your country and where you're picking this up at. But the sheath, big downside for this, somewhere's in the middle but not even quite there yet. This Hogue EXT0101, boy, there's a lot of letters and numbers there. Again, I'll flash that on the screen. But this here is about $300-400 ish Canadian, so not even quite half price to the RnD Hawk, but right around the same size, right around the same profile. Yeah, so this is what I ended up purchasing. This honestly was what I would have bought if I had the money. There is no doubt. When I was looking at this this type of an axe to buy, what I was looking for was a compromise in cost, price. By the way, I got this one at half price on Amazon, just got lucky there. The sheath's a little bit screwed up, but nothing too serious. But this was my compromise for not being able to afford a $1,000 freaking axe. So let's set these up here actually. I'm being so careful with this thing because I don't want to do my typical hard on gear stuff where I might drop something and then throw a little, you know, hard on gear label here. This beautiful hawk that you see here was pretty banged up, and I did a sharpening job on it, so I know the use and abuse this thing has taken and can take. So I know my buddy here won't mind me doing a little bit of that on the table. This I just don't even dare. Almost sacrilegious to such a fine piece of beautiful bladed art. But the size is just about the same for all three of these. A little bit different obviously in the handle ergonomics, a lot of it different in the handle ergonomics, and the designs, the craftsmanship, and the finish work on the RnD Hawk is just a different level. Here's the box. I'll show you really quickly because I kind of forgot. I threw it over to the side. You've got your little Winkler logo there on the front, and they make all kinds of different axes, by the way. Under here, I'm seeing little Winkler knives, Daniel Winkler message. I know I can be a little bit shaky and spazzy with my camera work, so I'll just put it down. Bam. Here's the other one. Yeah, the quality control on this stuff is going to be next level, guys. Not like cold steel is amazing. Pretty much almost 100% rate on cold steel stuff coming through solid. But this guy, Daniel Winkler, has been doing this stuff for a long time, and just him and his wife, I believe, had a very small operation, and they've been doing all this stuff on their own for years. Now, the Jack Carr books, I've been listening, I think, since Savage Son came out. Heard Jack Carr's appearance on Rogan, and then went on the rabbit hole of Jack Carr stuff. Got super into everything he's been doing. The dude was essentially a 8-year-old kid with a lot of veteran kind of influences in his family and around his life. And his mother was a librarian. So basically at the age of 8 or 9, he knew he wanted to be a Navy SEAL and then write books about it. So this guy has got the most detailed, gear nut oriented writing you're ever going to find. First book, Terminalist, has been turned into an Amazon Prime series, super popular. I'm sure most of the people who are viewing this right now who aren't Hard on Gear channel fans are probably viewing it because of the Terminalist series. One of the most accurate as far as like if you've got any kind of military experience or you've at least listened or read enough stuff to understand what's real and what's not, then you'll really appreciate the work. He goes into some pretty cool details about CIA and DevGru stuff. Some of it gets redacted and you'll kind of hear what gets bleeped out and what doesn't, but I highly recommend the books, highly recommend the series. Back to this thing though. By the way, he is a Sayoc Kali practitioner and goes through all this stuff. So is Kevin Estella, who I talk about quite a bit on this channel. Fieldcraft Survivals, kind of a survival guru, not kind of. He is their survival guru. Super amazing guy to follow if you're kind of into all the survival stuff, which I'll be doing some of that this week, bringing the Hogue with me on my little woods trip, and hopefully this thing doesn't have to fend off any wolves or bears or any kind of madness like that. I know it's kind of silly, but I'll be honest, I haven't done any solo camping in the places where I'm headed. A little bit further north, going to be a little bit colder and a little bit more remote. Where I typically live and where I've done my bush camping, I've either been with a lot of people on wildfires, that kind of thing, and a little bit of solo stuff I've done, which one of the videos you'll see that for my first big like solo trip by myself, no one else around, just an overnight thing, like after a long hike. I learned a lot of lessons. I do a lot of dumb shit. I'm definitely looking to not do too much dumb shit for this next little excursion because I could freeze to death or like do something stupid and like, you know, leave food out. Anyways, would I bring something like this out for a camping trip? I think I would, but I don't think I'd want to use it on trees and stuff. It's just too damn beautiful. This would purely be there for that last ditch, like, holy crap, something's on top of me and I got to create space. This thing comes out and start going to work. And then of course, I never mentioned, but you do have the rear spike, which I think is quite obvious. You can turn it around, I guess, if you wanted to get a lot of penetration or really smash something with that. I would trust the craftsmanship that it would probably hold up better than most things. But of course, how much abuse would you really want to put a tool like this through? I really do see this as more of a collector piece or a piece of kit that you're either using in an infantry context, SWAT, ERT, something like that, emergency response team in Canada. I don't like, it's equivalent to SWAT basically, but anything where you're doing like hostage rescue or some kind of close quarters stuff, this is so much better than a knife in so many ways. And the reason I wanted to start carrying something like this was in case I ever did have an animal on top of me in the woods. This is actually a really good tool for the woods for general like cleaving and branches and just doing any kind of like wood stuff where I don't want to do batoning or use my knives to do something more laborious. Is that the correct word? Labor intensive. But the other thing is I can whip this thing off my hip super friggin' fast and get this thing into action. And it not only is bladed, and this thing is pretty friggin' sharp, but like, yeah, still doing pretty good for a hand axe. Who's whistling in the damn hallway when I'm trying to do videos? How dare everyone not conform to my weird needs of having to record and have silence. But yeah, super handy, super practical, I think anyways, if you need to defend yourself against a wild animal. If you're in the context of defending yourself or aggressing against a person you have to aggress or defend against, I think that's the right way to say that, for your job, I don't see why this is a bad option, especially with all these super high level dudes kind of, you know, backing it up. And not everyone's carrying tomahawks on their side. I know before I joined the Army a couple years ago, I was on an export where I seen a couple infantry guys who were working on a fire. You know, the infantry gets called out to help on fires and floods sometimes. Both of these guys, who I think master corporals or sergeants, I didn't recognize the ranks at the time, but they both had some kind of a tomahawk or whatever on their chest. I don't think either of them had this. I probably would have recognized it, but they both had some kind of a tomahawk on their rig. Now, whether they carry that in the infantry or they were just carrying it because they were in the woods, I don't know. But between that, the Special Forces guys, and then just, I'm telling you, if you listen and read to enough of this Jack Carr stuff, I don't want to fanboy too much because you start sounding like a total douche. Follow and listen to enough of this stuff. Tell me they're not the best like fiction, action, military stuff you've ever read. Handle ergos in different positions. So the main grip that you would probably use to get the most leverage down here at the bottom. All the weight in the head is carrying this thing through. Full swing, full send. Whew. A very small person could swing this with a moderate amount of strength and probably terminate anything you needed to terminate with a few good swift hits to the skull. That spike, again, I'll reference the book here and say that they describe how it is designed perfectly to penetrate a skull. There is no doubt about it. That is one of the meanest, gnarliest pieces of penetrating metal that I have seen on a tool. So this here, without a doubt, could do some damage. That is designed to go in, hit brain tissue, and come out. And if you do that multiple times, again, I'm picturing like a bear on top of me or something wild like that, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, animals don't just attack people. I'm talking worst case scenario. I don't really clarify that enough. I use the coyote euphemism a lot. Canada, we're not allowed to defend ourselves with weapons or anything like that. So, well, it's really complicated. You're probably going to go to jail even if you live. So it's just kind of screwed up. But the point is, I normally talk about like coyote and wildlife attacks. Wildlife don't really attack you that much. Unless you're stupid, you leave food around and you startle them and they don't know what's going on. Very seldom are they going to be predators and go after you. I've had some weird stuff happen where they didn't have berries and they were pretty hungry and they were like really not getting scared. When those situations come about, I realized that as much as I love my Essie Azula 2, when this was all I had a couple years ago and I had a freaking, well, it was only a small 200, 250 pound black bear, but nonetheless, this was not a confidence builder. I did not have one of my K-bars with me, which I typically always have. I felt really stupid. I would have felt way more confident with something like this. Now, typically I'm making a spear or something like that to give me a throwing spear, then a bigger spear to give me some range. So, you know, like Edge, Anthony Hopkins, who else was in that damn movie? Super good kind of concept anyways. If you could work the terrain, kind of let the bear come at you. I mean, relative to trying to fight a bear with a spear, tell me a better option. Obviously, firearms don't always have that option in Canada. If it's outside of hunting season, yeah, you're kind of playing with fire. So, best manageable self-defense tool against wildlife, I'm going to say goes to the RnD Hawk or something similar to it, but this is the king of tactical combat axes in my mind. If you have a different opinion, I fully encourage you to comment down below and tell me what axe, what compact, impact/bladed tool of this nature is better than the RnD Hawk. This super cool Sayoc Kali inspired design by Daniel Winkler. Now, I know a few folks have Winkler knives in my hog kind of comment section. Let me know down below. Do you have Winkler products? Does anyone own a RnD Hawk or any other Winkler axes or different kind of tools that I don't know about? What are your experiences with them? Would you recommend them? Would you buy more of them? I have not used this axe. I've only touched it and like groveled and just absolutely like been stunned by it. When they talk about it, you know, again, I'll reference for the 14th time, and again, fanboying a little bit over the stupid book where they talk about the awe when they hand the hawk over and it's given to as a gift. And I absolutely revere this piece of kit that I'm holding in my hand right now. And the price, yeah, that's cool, but it's not about that. Like, you hold $1,000 laptop or like a gun or like whatever, right? Drive your car. Everyone's got some kind of valuable things. By the way, if you haven't picked up East Coast accent, R's, bars, we dragged them out a little bit. That little fun Easter egg for you. By the way, there'll be an Easter egg video coming up for all kinds of fucking whistlers. By the way, there'll be a fun little Easter egg video coming up in a few weeks to show you all kinds of weird little fun things that you might not notice are going on behind the scenes in the land of hog. Before I started freaking out about the awesomeness of this axe, I was talking about different handle positions. So there's a little mid position here too. If you want to go for a little choked up grip, you get a little faster movement. And if you do a little stick work with any stick work with Kali and stuff, you'll do different stick positions where you'll have a smaller puño on the back, the little pommel strike. You'll do some choked up stuff so you can move faster and kind of go through the motions. This mid grip, the way it's designed, is so friggin' awesome. The large kind of tapering here allows that to pretty much stop and allow you to never slide up or really down. Just again, the beautiful little bit of notching, and I don't know exactly how you define the cool little design and the awesome ergonomic thought process behind what he's done with this axe. So mid position, low position, again, all that weight in the head. Mid position, still balanced beautifully. You're not fighting the weight of it at all. I can't, you know, you got a little bit of camera room here, but it's extremely maneuverable. If you choke up, like basically how it's drawn out, kind of the same way that I have the Hogue drilled now. When you get this thing out from the front of that into action, or this thing off the sheath, you're into the hammer grip and you can get right into whatever thing you have to do if you're pulling this thing out in a hurry. Quick little slide down, or if you knock this on an object or on your thigh and slide down to the handle, you get a really nice grip down at the base of it, and then you're ready for the full swing and to use the range once you've created space. Once you've created space by getting that out of the sheath and into action. Very rarely are you going to be in a situation where you're drawing a blade where you've got space and time to be like, okay, guy, we're going to get into a knife fight now. It's going to be reactionary, and you're going to be most of the time looking to use this to create distance and then reassess and then use the range of the weapon. This could not be designed any better for that kind of scenario. In my mind, because I should have said from the beginning, I'm not a professional combatives expert or anything like that. I'm a nerd about this martial arts stuff. A little bit of time in the military, but I hurt my back during infantry training, so that sucks. So I'm one of those losers who's going to retire a cornflake, going back to wildfire, going to end up carrying this for a while, I think, in some different scenarios. But I'm a little nervous about the sheath. Something like this would be perfect. And if I can get a custom built something along this line, now that I know this design, I'm going to see what I can get done, because I am sold on this sheath. I'll throw that video up there again if I haven't already 2 or 3 times, just to show you the draw and the super awesome movement of this. I try not to cut myself too bad here or anything, because typically, like, I would feel pretty comfortable using different tools in Filipino martial arts style flowing motions. However, this is a very unique weapon, and I don't want to accidentally nick myself, because I'm not used to having a crazy spike like this. And if I accidentally caught myself in the arm, it would not just slice. This is going to gouge and do some terrible things to me, and I do not want to see what would happen. And I got like an 18-hour drive to get to my work location tomorrow. I'd really rather not. But yeah, there might be some video of me here just slinging this thing around a little bit. I might have already thrown that at the beginning, just to try and keep your audience retention. I handled this about 10 minutes before starting this video, and I can tell you that the dopamine and endorphins flowing through my body just about as high, if not higher, than they were the second I first laid eyes on this. So you're getting as legitimate of a magical unboxing experience from this video as you could ever imagine, because I'm telling you, when the time comes that I have enough disposable income again to just throw down $1,000 on a piece of kit like this, there is no doubt in my mind now. This is not just a fad. This is not just something, I almost poked my thumb off with that. This is not just something that people are freaking out about because of the show. Now, there's obviously going to be a lot of that to it, and I do not like fads. I tend to be about 5 to 6 years late on a lot of this stuff, but there is no doubt this is worth the money if you have it to spend, and this is actually as good as I've heard everyone describe it to be. The wood scales going over that big ass full tang, by the way, lanyard loop down there if you need it or want it, but I don't think you do because the grip is so strong. But the wood is just so well done. It's pretty dang thin too, but incredible detail, incredible craftsmanship. I know that Daniel Winkler has had to open up an entire shop now, like a real, like legit show store and retail place, as opposed to just doing this out of his house. But with the R&D hawks, they take such a special hand and such a level of craftsmanship to get the spike right. I heard him talk about this on a podcast. But basically, he still has to do all these. And one day, maybe he'll be able to get one of his family members or one of his apprentices to learn how to do this like to his level. I don't know. Maybe he said they were getting close. I can't remember to be sure. I don't want to misquote. But essentially, he's still doing all of these by hand. And he has to because of the skill required to do them. So thanks again a million times over to the guy who lent me this and to his father, I believe, who's the one who pulled the trigger on these axes. Can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to have this on my table right now. I hope it never has to get used for the ultimate purpose it was designed for. But boy, if it ever needs to come to that, this is the tool. Maybe one of these days you'll see another one of these in my hands, but it's going to be one that I own myself. Until that day, feel free to check out the other videos for either of these axes, or if you're more into knives, we've got things like my Torrey Anaconda, which before holding this was the thing I was most excited to unbox and handle. Super nice little EDC tactical fixed blade. Would make a nice pairing actually with this. If you watch that video again where I sling this thing out, the Torrey Anaconda is right there next to it, behind it on my hip. Nice little backup. Don't know what I'd do for a setup if I had this as my primary. I have this Hogue on my right hand right now, but again, one of those things for the future if we come to it. I'll ask you again, if you did enjoy this video too, like the video, feel free to subscribe and turn the notification bell on if you want to get all the hog videos into your notification feed. See you on one of those or one of the ones popping up on the side panel here. Hard on Gear channel, signing off.